Welcome to the NASP 3D range setup video. In this presentation you will see just how easy it is to set up a NASP 3D range. Many people are intimidated when they see the diagonal lines on the 3D range, but once you have completed this presentation you will see it's as easy as setting up a NASP Bullseye range. Let's begin with an overview of a properly laid out NASP Bullseye range. First, you have an arrow curtain line placed at least 30 inches from any hard surface, such as a wall or bleachers. The next line, no more than 30 inches from the arrow curtain line, is the target butt line, or as we call it in NASP 3D, the target placement line. The next line is the target line. Then you have your 10-meter shooting line. After the 10-meter shooting line is the 15-meter shooting line. Our next line is the waiting line. 10 feet behind the waiting line, we have the line for Coach's Alley. And finally, our last line on the range is the spectator line. Now let us show you how easy it is to set up a 3D range. First, let's remove the 10-meter shooting line. Then we will remove the target line. Now we have built a bullseye range without a 10-meter shooting line and a target line. It's time to turn this range into a NASP 3D range. NASP 3D ranges are built in sets of 6 lanes to accommodate the 6 different animals used in NASP 3D. So, the first thing we do is to divide our bullseye lanes into sets of 6 lanes. Now we have 2 NASP 3D ranges. If you are setting up more ranges, just continue to divide your bullseye range into 6 lane sets. When planning your tournament, it is critical to remember this key difference between planning a NASP bullseye range and a NASP 3D range. When designing your bullseye range, you plan in the number of 5-foot lanes your facility will hold. However, when designing your NASP 3D range, you must plan in the number of 30-foot ranges your facility will hold. Next, we begin on the left-hand side of our range. We run our tape measure from the 15-meter shooting line down to the target area. Using a Sharpie or a piece of tape, we place a mark at 23 feet and 31 feet. Here's a little hint. When you make your mark, go ahead and write 23, 31, 43, or 51 beside the mark. It will make it easier when you are laying tape for the target line. Now we need to move our tape to the next range line. Once again, we run our tape measure from the shooting line toward the target area. Here we use our Sharpie or tape to make marks at 43 feet and 51 feet. Now we move to the next range line and once again run our tape measure from the shooting line to the target area. Here we use our Sharpie or tape to again make marks at 23 feet and 31 feet. If we are setting up additional ranges, we would simply continue moving 30 feet down the shooting line, alternating between 23 and 31 and 43 and 51 measurements until we reach the end of our entire range. Okay. Let's return to the first range line on the left side of the range and lay out the target line. Now run your line using your floor tape from the 23-foot mark to the 43-foot mark on the right side of the range. Now continue moving down our range, connecting the 23-foot marks and the 43-foot marks together until you have reached the end of your ranges. Next, we will put lane marks on our target line. First, take your tape measure and hold one end on the mark at 23 feet and the other end on the mark at 43 feet. Once you have your tape measure in place, simply place a mark at 6 feet, 12 feet, 18 feet, 24 feet, and 30 feet. Then place a 6-inch to 12-inch piece of floor tape on each of these marks. Now it's time to set up our target placement line. First, let's move our tape measure to the marks at 31 feet and 51 feet. Once you have your tape measure in place, simply place a 2 to 3 inch round sticker or a similar sized piece of floor tape every 6 feet along the tape measure line. Marks will be at 3 feet, 9 feet, 15 feet, 21 feet, 27 feet, and 33 feet. We use round stickers for all national tournaments, but they might not be allowed for use on your gym floor. If you cannot use stickers, then floor tape or painter's tape will work fine. For consistency, we place our stickers on the shooting line side of the tape. You have now completed your target placement line. Simply place the appropriate animal parallel to the shooting line with the 10 ring placed directly above the mark we just made on the floor. The easiest way to obtain proper target placement is to stand on the curtain side of the animal and look directly down at the front edge of the target while you move the 10 ring over the sticker or tape. Now just continue this process until you have completely set up all of your NASP 3D ranges. The final step is to set the arrow curtain in place. Different than Bullseye, setting the curtain is the last thing we do on the NASP 3D range. Due to the targets being on a diagonal line, it is much easier to set the proper curtain placement of no more than one arrow length 30 inches between the targets and the curtain once the targets are in place. NASP recommends that you always set up your ranges with the animals facing opposite directions. This is done so that if you have a target core that becomes too damaged to continue, you can easily swap the corresponding animals with little or no delay to your tournament. Congratulations! You have now successfully set up a NASP 3D range. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch this presentation. You can also find additional NASP 3D information at www.naspschools.org.